What if seeing the world exactly as it is guarantees you a life of being alone? What if the very clarity you have, that ability to see through the games, the facades, and the performance of it all, is the one thing that makes society instinctively push you away? Chances are you've felt it. That quiet, nagging sense of being an outsider in a world that seems perfectly happy with its own illusions. You feel it in conversations that just skim the surface of life, never daring to go deeper. You feel it at social events, where you smile and nod, while your mind is a universe away, tracing patterns and truths that everyone else seems to miss. You may have even asked yourself, is there something wrong with me? Why do I feel so disconnected? Why does all this noise feel so alienating? This isn't a flaw. It isn't a defect. According to one of history's most daring and misunderstood philosophers, it's the unavoidable price of a superior intellect. His name was Arthur Schopenhauer, and he didn't just acknowledge this painful reality. He built his entire worldview around its chilling truth. He argued something so radical, it continues to echo through psychology and philosophy today. Society doesn't just misunderstand its most brilliant minds. It instinctively, and sometimes aggressively, rejects them. It sees them as a threat to its most cherished and necessary illusions. What Schopenhauer revealed about genius, solitude, and suffering is more relevant now, in our world of curated perfection and digital noise, than ever before. This isn't a journey into self-help or easy answers. It's a descent into the dark psychology of genius, and a confrontation with the brutal truth of what it means to see the world with open eyes. To understand why the genius is cast out, we first have to see the world as Schopenhauer saw it. For him, it's not the solid, predictable reality we assume it is. Instead, drawing from Eastern philosophy and Immanuel Kant, he proposed that the world is split in two. First, there's the world as representation. This is everything we see, touch, and measure. A world of people, objects, space, and time. But Schopenhauer argued this is just a phenomenal veil, a complex illusion our own minds create. It's a dream we rarely wake up from. Beneath that surface lies the truer reality, the world as will. Now, this isn't will like our personal choices or desires. It's a single, universal, and totally blind force, a mindless, insatiable, striving energy that pulses through every atom of existence. It's the force that pulls planets around the sun, makes a plant grow toward the light, and drives an animal to hunt. In us, this will shows up as our constant nagging desires for food, wealth, power, love. It's a relentless engine of dissatisfaction, because as soon as one desire is met, another one pops up. This endless, fruitless striving, Schopenhauer declared, is the fundamental nature of life, and the name he gave for it was simple: suffering. All life at its core is suffering. Now, imagine an entire society built on the desperate need to deny this. That's Schopenhauer's vision of human civilization. It's a grand, intricate stage play, a collective performance designed for one purpose: to distract us from the horrifying hum of the will. Social conventions, politeness, rituals, shared beliefs. He saw these not as organic human connection, but as a meticulously crafted script, a set of rules for a game everyone agrees to play, because the alternative, well, that's to stare into the abyss of a meaningless, suffering-driven existence. People dive into the trivialities of social life, the gossip, the posturing, the endless chase for status, not out of genuine interest, but out of a terror of what they'd find if they were ever truly alone with their thoughts. They seek company not for connection, but for distraction. As he wrote, what now, on the other hand, makes people sociable is their incapacity to endure solitude and thus themselves. Society becomes a hall of mirrors, where everyone reflects a comfortable, manageable version of reality back to everyone else. The currency here isn't truth, it's conformity. People reward those who play their part well and affirm the collective delusion that life isn't about suffering, but about achievement and pleasure. And into this delicately constructed theater walks the genius. The genius is, by definition, a person of extraordinary intellectual clarity. They aren't just bad at playing the game, they're cursed with the ability to see the stage itself. They see the ropes and pulleys, the flimsy backdrop, the actors sweating under their masks. To the genius, small talk isn't just boring. It's a painful lie set against the profound truths they perceive. They aren't impressed by the titles and status that animate others, because they see it for what it is, a desperate dance to the tune of the blind, insatiable will. This is why they're rejected. It's not for arrogance, though they're often accused of it. They're rejected because their very existence threatens the social order. Their quiet refusal to join the charade is a silent judgment on it. Their insights cut through the comforting fog of collective denial, and that makes them dangerous. They are the child in the story of the emperor's new clothes, pointing out the naked truth everyone else has agreed to ignore. The collective, whose comfort depends on that shared illusion, has two choices: to question its entire reality, or to brand the child a fool and cast them out. For its own survival, society almost always chooses the latter. The genius becomes an outcast, not because they're flawed, but because they're a mirror reflecting a truth too terrible for the crowd to bear. For most people, the intellect is a tool. You use it to solve problems, climb the social ladder, and get what you want inside the accepted rules of reality. But for the genius, the intellect isn't a tool, it's their very way of being. And according to Schopenhauer, this heightened awareness isn't a gift, but a profound and inescapable burden. He famously argued that a powerful intellect doesn't relieve suffering, it magnifies it. The more you know, the more you see, the more you feel the immense weight of the world. Imagine two people walking through a forest at night. The ordinary person carries a small candle. Their world is a small, manageable circle of light. They see the path right in front of them, but the vast, dark forest all around remains mostly unseen, and so unfelt. They're protected by their limited perception. The second person, the genius, carries a giant searchlight. It cuts through the dark for miles, illuminating not just the path, but every twisted branch, every predatory shadow, every sign of decay. They see everything, and therefore, they feel the weight of everything. This is the agony of insight. The genius's mind illuminates the world's suffering with horrifying clarity. This clarity leads them to pierce through what Schopenhauer called the principium individuationis, the veil of individuality. This is the illusion, woven by time and space, that we are all separate individuals. Most people live and die wrapped up in this belief. Their own pain and their own pleasure are all that matter. The suffering of others is something happening, well, over there. The genius, however, sees the cracks in this wall. They perceive that the same blind, striving will, causing their own dissatisfaction, is the very same will that animates all of existence. The suffering of a stranger, the struggle of an animal, the decay of a plant, it all comes from the same universal source. They realize individuality is a mirage. At the deepest level, there is only one will, experiencing its own fractured nature through billions of points of consciousness. To grasp this isn't just a philosophical exercise, it's an emotional cataclysm. It is to feel the suffering of the entire world as your own. This is the source of that profound, world-weary melancholy that so often clings to the genius. It's an empathy so vast it becomes a perpetual source of pain. It's also why social interaction is so difficult. How can you make small talk about weekend plans when you're silently screaming with the ambient grief of the world? This is where society's defense mechanisms kick in. When the genius tries to talk about these uncomfortable truths, they aren't met with curiosity. No, they're met with rejection. Our entire civilization, our laws, our economies, our morals, it's built on the idea of separate, responsible individuals. The genius who suggests this is all an illusion isn't just a pessimist. They're committing a form of social treason, so society pathologizes them. Their deep sadness is labeled depression. Their detachment from trivial things is called arrogance, and their perception of hidden motives, that's branded paranoia. In a world that runs on comforting lies, the truth-teller is always the problem. Schopenhauer saw that society represses what it fears. The genius is the walking, talking embodiment of everything society wants to forget: the reality of suffering, the futility of desire, and the terror of death. To protect its own sanity, the collective projects its fears onto the genius and casts them out. The agony is twofold. They suffer from the clarity of their own vision, and they suffer from the rejection this vision causes in others. It's a crown of thorns, given to them by the very intellect that sets them apart. So, in a world that pushes away the brilliant mind, where does the genius go? They retreat. They withdraw. They seek the one state where their true nature can flourish: solitude. For the average person, solitude is a punishment, a void to be filled with noise and company. It means loneliness, a failure to connect. But for the genius, the distinction is crucial. Solitude isn't loneliness, it's liberation. Schopenhauer's words on this are some of his most famous. A man can be himself only so long as he's alone, and if he doesn't love solitude, he won't love freedom, for it's only when he is alone that he is really free. This one idea, it's the key. To be in society is to constantly compromise. You have to accommodate others, hold back your real thoughts, and, well, wear the right social mask. You give up, as Schopenhauer put it, 3/4 of ourselves in order to be like other people. Most people are willing to pay this tax for the feeling of belonging. But for the genius, this tax, it's spiritually bankrupting. It's a betrayal of their most valuable asset, their authentic view of the world. Solitude, then, isn't an escape from people. No, it's an escape from the performance that people demand. It's a fortress, you see, built to protect the mind's integrity. Inside its walls, the genius is finally free. Free from the pressure to conform. Free from the exhausting task of faking interest in trivial things. And free from the pain of watching society's mass delusion up close. Only in the quiet of their own company does the oppressive noise of the collective will finally fade. And in that silence, well, they can at last hear themselves think. This isn't about passively resting. Oh no, it's the active workshop of a great mind. Solitude is the crucible where masterpieces are forged and revolutions are born. It provides the space for what Schopenhauer called the contemplation of Platonic ideas. You know, those timeless, perfect archetypes behind the messy objects of our world. This is one of the only temporary escapes from the tyranny of the will, a state where the mind becomes a clear mirror of the object, completely free from personal desire. History is full of examples. Think of Nikola Tesla, a man whose mind operated so far beyond his peers that he was seen as a recluse. His greatest breakthroughs happened during periods of intense, isolated focus. He knew the chatter of the social world was just static, interfering with the signals he was trying to receive from the universe. Isaac Newton was famously solitary. His laws of motion and universal gravitation, the bedrock of classical physics, came from a mind turned almost completely inward, free from the dogmas of his colleagues. Schopenhauer would say this isn't a coincidence, it's a law of nature. Great men are like eagles, he wrote, and build their nest on some lofty solitude. This solitude is both literal and metaphorical. It's a physical removal from the crowd, but more importantly, it's an intellectual and spiritual detachment. It's the understanding that the approval of the herd isn't just unnecessary, it's actively harmful to the pursuit of truth. The genius in their fortress of solitude isn't lonely. They are in the best possible company, their own thoughts, their own integrity, and the timeless truths of the universe. The price of this freedom is exile from the warm, comfortable world of others. But for a mind that has seen reality for what it is, it's a price they must pay. The solitude may look like a prison from the outside, but from the inside, it's the only kingdom where they can truly rule. But this retreat into solitude comes at a huge human cost. The genius is still human, with a fundamental need for connection. And here we find one of the most tragic paradoxes of their life. The very quality that makes them extraordinary is the same one that makes genuine connection almost impossible. It starts with the most common form of bonding, small talk. For most, light-hearted banter is the lubricant of social life. It's a pleasant, low-stakes way to affirm you belong. For the genius, it's excruciating. This doesn't come from snobbery, though it's often misread that way. It's an allergy to falsehood. To take part in conversations they know are meaningless feels like a deep violation of their nature. It's like asking a virtuoso pianist to spend all day playing a simple, out-of-tune nursery rhyme. They can do it, but the act itself creates a painful internal conflict. This makes a wide social circle impossible. But what about deeper connections, like friendship and love? Here the paradox becomes a tragedy. The genius yearns, maybe more than anyone, for a true peer. They dream of finding another mind that meets them on their own level, a consciousness that sees the world with the same terrifying clarity. They long for a conversation that doesn't require them to dumb down their thoughts. But Schopenhauer would point out the brutal math of the situation. True genius is, by definition, incredibly rare. The odds of one such mind finding another, well, they're tiny. The genius is, therefore, condemned to a life of searching for a reflection that will almost certainly never appear. They are a speaker of a forgotten language, desperately hoping to overhear a familiar word in a crowd of foreign tongues. This tragic isolation seeps into romance, too. Schopenhauer's view here is famously cynical. He saw romantic love not as a sublime connection, but as the will's most cunning trick. It's a biological trap, designed for the sole purpose of perpetuating the species. Those powerful feelings of attraction and the idealization of the beloved? All a grand illusion, a temporary madness orchestrated by nature to ensure its own continuation. The genius, with their piercing intellect, often can't suspend their disbelief. They see the biological machinery working behind the curtain of romance. They analyze the illusion even while they're in it, and this analysis corrodes the pure, unthinking surrender that love seems to require. This doesn't mean a genius can't feel love, but their experience of it is haunted by a tragic awareness. They see how their attraction is driven by a biological imperative to create intelligent offspring, all in service to the blind will. That clarity strips the magic from the experience, leaving behind a cold, mechanical process. They are both an actor in the play and a critic in the audience, so the genius is caught in a painful bind. They're driven away from the shallow connections of the many, yet find the deep connections they crave to be statistically impossible and, well, philosophically suspect. Surrounded by people, yet profoundly alone. They have a mind that can grasp the secrets of the cosmos, but they often can't bridge the seemingly simple gap to another human being. Their quest for connection is a journey into a desert, searching for an oasis that their own intellect tells them is, almost certainly, a mirage. Schopenhauer wrote all this in the 19th century, but it's never felt more real than it does today. We live in an age that's perfected the art of the social performance. Social media, it's a global stage where everyone curates an idealized life, a facade of constant happiness and success. The pressure to play along, it's immense. The fear of missing out, that's just the modern name for the old herd instinct, really. It's driving people into social rituals, just for the validation of being seen, not for genuine fulfillment. In this world, the person of deep intellect feels that split more acutely than ever. The superficiality Schopenhauer saw, it's been amplified to a global scale. The noise is louder, the distractions are everywhere, and the pressure to conform, it's more insidious. That feeling of being an outsider, of seeing through the curated feeds and recognizing the desperate performance for what it is, well, it can be incredibly isolating. This leads us to a central question. Is the solitude of the genius a gift or a burden? I mean, is it a sanctuary for deep thought or a prison of loneliness? There's no easy answer, really. The truth is likely found in the tension between the two. We invite you to share your own experiences in the comments. For instance, have you ever felt you had to hide your true thoughts to fit in? Or do you think society distrusts those who see the world differently? Is solitude a source of strength for you, or a source of pain? You know, your perspective is a vital part of this conversation. The journey through Schopenhauer's dark vision of genius doesn't lead to a comfortable place. There's no 7-step plan to fit the brilliant mind back into society. To offer one would betray his entire philosophy. The rift between the genius and the collective isn't a misunderstanding to be fixed. It's a fundamental feature of reality. It's the unavoidable price of sight in a world that prefers to keep its eyes shut. To feel this disconnect, this alienation, isn't a sign that you are broken. It's a sign that you are, perhaps, waking up. It's the painful yet privileged position of the lookout who is the first to see the dawn, while the rest of the camp is still asleep. The light is real, but they are alone in seeing it. The path of the genius, as Schopenhauer saw it, is a kind of renunciation. It's a willing surrender of life's common prizes, social approval, widespread acceptance, the warm comfort of belonging, in exchange for a higher, colder reward, truth. It's the understanding that the kingdom of the mind can't be governed by the laws of the marketplace. The two worlds are incompatible. To gain citizenship in one, you have to give it up in the other. This is not a path of happiness as the world defines it. It is a path of meaning, forged in the fires of suffering and isolation. It is the acceptance of a crown of thorns, worn not as punishment, but as the solemn emblem of a different kind of royalty. The genius may be rejected by society, but in their solitude, they achieve a sovereignty that no crowd can give and no critic can take away. They find a freedom that is terrifying in its boundlessness, but is, nonetheless, the only freedom worth having. And so, we're left with Schopenhauer's final, haunting verdict, a statement that is both a warning and a promise. It's a truth, I think, that any mind that has ever felt at odds with the world will recognize deep in its bones. This is it. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom. For it is only when he is alone that he is really free.